Welcome to our deep dive. We're tackling collective consciousness today. You sent in some really interesting stuff, research papers, historical analyses, even some philosophical pieces. Looks like you're ready to uncover how this hidden force shapes societies, relationships, even how we think.
It's fascinating, right? It works under the surface. We're swimming in it, but don't always see its impact.
Okay, so let's jump in. We'll be looking at some big ideas from Durkheim and Jung. Then the biology and language behind it all. Plus, how technology, especially social media, is changing collective consciousness as we speak.
As we go through this, think about how these ideas fit with your own experiences. This isn't just theory, it's about getting insights into the forces shaping our lives, relationships, and the world we live in.
Totally. To start, let's go back to the roots. You've included Emil Durkheim, a sociologist, and Carl Jung, a psychologist. What were their big contributions to understanding collective consciousness?
Durkheim wrote back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. He was really focused on what holds societies together. He said shared morals, beliefs, values. He called them collective representations. They're like the glue that binds individuals into a whole.
So for Durkheim, collective consciousness is essential for a stable society.
Exactly. Without this shared sense of belonging, common purpose, he thought societies would crumble. He saw it as a real force, something that really affects how people act.
Now, Jung, he went deeper into the psychology of it. You included his idea of the collective unconscious. Can you break that down for us?
Jung said that beneath our personal unconscious, there's a deeper level shared by all humanity. He called this the collective unconscious. He thought it holds these universal archetypes, like basic images and behaviors that have been passed down from way back, since the beginning of humans.
So they're like patterns of human experience embedded in our collective psyche.
Yes, think of them like themes that show up across cultures and throughout history. The hero, the mother, the trickster, the shadow. Jung said these archetypes really influence our perceptions, emotions, even how we behave. We see them in myths, art, literature, even dreams.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So we're all connected on a really deep level, sharing these patterns of experience. Let's go from the psychological to the biological. You included some research on mirror neurons. What's their connection to collective consciousness?
Mirror neurons are a fascinating discovery in neuroscience. They're brain cells that fire not only when we do something, but also when we watch someone else doing the same thing.
Hold on. So if I see you yawn, the same neurons in my brain are firing as if I was yawning myself.
That's it. And this mirroring is thought to be the root of empathy. It lets us understand and feel what others feel, a key part of how we connect and build social bonds.
That makes a lot of sense. It suggests that we're literally wired to be social. Our brains are made to pick up and respond to the actions and emotions of those around us.
Exactly. And this biological pull toward connection is even stronger with language. Language is a powerful tool for transmitting culture, shaping meaning, and coordinating action as a group.
Language is such a huge topic.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example from your materials that shows how language shapes collective consciousness?
Okay, one really interesting example is the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. It suggests that the structure of a language can actually influence how its speakers understand the world.
So the language we speak can shape our reality.
You could say that, for example, the Inuit people have many words for snow. It shows how deeply they understand and experience all the types of snow in their environment. This nuanced vocabulary allows them to make distinctions that English speakers might not even notice.
That's wild. It highlights how language creates a shared reality within a cultural group.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just describing the physical world. It also shapes our understanding of abstract things, social roles, moral values. Think about how some words have such strong emotions attached to them and how they can evoke powerful reactions from groups of people.
Like how the word freedom can inspire action, or how the word justice can drive a movement. Words have power. They can shape collective consciousness and bring about social change.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another powerful force shaping collective consciousness: technology.
You mean social media, right? Seems like everyone's constantly plugged in, sharing information, opinions, and experiences online.
No question, social media has completely changed the landscape of collective consciousness. It's created these new ways for us to connect with people who think like us, to take action together, and to shape public conversations. But it also brings new problems.
Like those echo chambers and filter bubbles, where people are only exposed to information that supports their existing beliefs.
Yes, the algorithms used by social media can create these information silos. They reinforce existing biases and make it harder to have productive conversations with people who see things differently.
And then there's the problem of misinformation spreading like wildfire online. It's a constant battle to figure out what's true and what's fake in the digital age.
Definitely. The speed and scale at which information travels online make it really important to develop critical thinking and media literacy skills to navigate this complex digital world.
So while social media gives us amazing chances to connect and work together, it also needs us to be more aware and responsible.
Absolutely. We have to understand the dynamics of online platforms and their impact on collective consciousness if we want to use the digital world effectively.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today. Durkheim and Jung's basic ideas, the biology and language of collective consciousness, and the massive role of technology. It's a complex thing with big implications for both individuals and societies.
As we go deeper into your materials, remember this isn't just theory. Collective consciousness is a lived reality. It shapes our perceptions, influences our decisions, and drives social change every day.
That's a great point. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll look at some historical examples that really show the power of collective consciousness in action.
Let's dig into those historical examples. You're really interested in how shared beliefs and values can drive social movements and revolutions. You highlighted the French Revolution. What makes that one stand out for you?
Well, it's such a classic example of how widespread discontent can erupt when it's fueled by things like economic inequality and social injustice. It really shows how powerful collective consciousness can be, especially when people start challenging the status quo.
You're right, it's a powerful example. The French Revolution didn't just happen overnight. It was a long buildup of frustration and anger, and the material you sent shows that really clearly. For years before 1789, the average French person, especially peasants and urban workers, were struggling. They had to pay heavy taxes while the nobility and clergy lived lavishly and didn't have to pay much at all.
So that huge economic gap, along with a rigid social hierarchy, created the perfect environment for revolution.
Exactly. Thinkers like Rousseau and Voltaire were challenging the idea of absolute monarchy. They advocated for individual rights and power to the people. Their ideas resonated with the growing discontent and gave people a way to think about changing the system.
Then there was the calling of the Estates General in 1789. It seemed like King Louis XVI was trying to solve the financial crisis. But it didn't really work out that way, did it?
No, it backfired. The Estates General had representatives from the clergy, the nobility, and the commoners. But the voting system basically gave all the power to the first two, the privileged ones. The commoners, who were the vast majority, were silent.
It seems like that blatant disregard for the commoners just added fuel to the fire.
Absolutely. The commoners realized they couldn't get anywhere within the existing system, so they went ahead and formed the National Assembly. They declared themselves the true representatives of the French people. That was a huge turning point.
And then, of course, there's the storming of the Bastille on July 14th, 1789. Such a powerful symbol of the revolution.
For sure. The Bastille was a royal fortress and a prison. It represented everything oppressive about the monarchy. When the people stormed it, it was a symbolic act of breaking free. It marked the start of a truly radical transformation.
It's incredible how one event can capture the spirit of an entire nation and spark such massive change.
The French Revolution shows just how powerful shared beliefs and values can be when it comes to changing social and political structures. But you've also included examples where collective consciousness leads to positive change, like the Civil Rights Movement.
Yes, exactly. The Civil Rights Movement shows how a shared desire for equality and justice can create a powerful force for change. It proves that even deep-rooted oppression can be overcome when people come together with strong convictions, strategic organization, and unwavering activism.
It's amazing to consider the decades of activism and advocacy that went into it, but there were definitely key moments that shifted the collective consciousness and pushed the movement forward.
Like what?
Well, the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, for instance. It started when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man. Her act of defiance resonated with African Americans all over the country. They joined in a year-long boycott demanding an end to segregation on the buses.
That boycott did more than just hit them economically. It brought national attention to the injustices faced by African Americans in the South.
Exactly. And the movement kept gaining momentum with events like the Freedom Rides, where activists challenged segregation on interstate buses. Then there was the March on Washington in 1963, with Martin Luther King Jr.'s incredible I Have a Dream speech.
Those events brought in huge support from both inside the U.S. and around the world. It put a ton of pressure on the government to finally address systemic racism and make real changes.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 were monumental. They outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, and it secured voting rights for African Americans. They were a testament to the power of collective action in dismantling racism and advancing civil rights.
Those legal victories were huge. But like with any social movement, the fight for equality continues. The civil rights movement reminds us that real change takes sustained effort, collective action, and a willingness to constantly challenge injustice.
You're right. But it's inspiring to see how people united by a common goal can overcome obstacles and make a difference. However, you also included some examples of how collective consciousness can take a dark turn.
Oh, yes, it's important to acknowledge that. It's not always a force for good. You brought up the Salem witch trials, a chilling reminder of how fear and paranoia can grip a community.
The Salem witch trials, back in 1692 in Massachusetts, show us how collective consciousness can be twisted, leading to terrible injustice. It was a deeply religious community, very superstitious and afraid of the unknown. Then a group of young girls started acting strangely. They claimed to be victims of witchcraft.
And it just spiraled out of control from there.
Yes, fueled by suspicion, rumors, and personal vendettas. It's a scary example of how a community can turn on itself, driven by fear and suspicion, and persecute innocent people. Over 200 people were accused, and 20 were executed based on nothing but flimsy evidence and forced confessions.
A dark chapter in history, for sure. It makes you realize that we're not immune to these darker impulses of collective consciousness,
Yeah,
even in today's world.
that's why understanding it is so important. If we recognize its power, we can navigate it better, harness the good, and guard against the bad.
It's a delicate balance, but definitely worth striving for.
Definitely. Now, you also sent some material about how collective consciousness works in business. Want to look at those examples?
Okay, so let's move from those historical examples into the business world. You included some really interesting cases, like Google and Pixar. How do they use collective consciousness to be so innovative and successful?
It's fascinating. They've built these cultures that value individual talent but also understand the power of group thinking. They get that the best ideas often come from bringing together diverse perspectives and working together.
Google, for instance, has a reputation for being super innovative and collaborative. What are some of the things they do to create a positive collective consciousness?
Well, one big thing is their focus on open communication and brainstorming. They want everyone, at every level, to share their ideas. This creates a sense of ownership and shared purpose. It's a fertile ground for innovation. Ideas get tossed around, refined, and built upon through group input.
So it's not just about the higher-ups dictating what's innovative. It's about making a space where anyone can contribute.
Exactly. And that's how they've come up with some of their most successful products and services. Think about Gmail. It started as one employee's side project, or Google Maps. Initially, it was developed outside their core search business. By empowering employees and fostering collaboration, they've tapped into the collective genius of their workforce.
That's a great example of how a company can use collective consciousness to drive innovation. What about Pixar? Their animated films are beloved worldwide. How does collective consciousness play into their creative process?
Pixar's success comes from their unique approach to filmmaking. They emphasize collaboration and collective creativity throughout the entire process. Directors, writers, animators, story artists, they all work together, constantly sharing ideas, giving feedback, and building on each other's work.
So it's not just one brilliant mind calling all the shots. It's a team effort, bringing a shared vision to life.
Right. They encourage open feedback and constructive criticism. Everyone's input matters, no matter their role. This creates a sense of shared ownership and fuels the creative synergy. You can really see it in the quality and originality of their films.
It's really cool how these companies have created environments where collective consciousness thrives, leading to such amazing results. But let's be real. Fostering that positive energy isn't always easy, is it?
You're right. There are pitfalls, for sure, like groupthink. That's where the need for harmony stifles dissent and leads to bad decisions. It's really important for organizations to encourage healthy debate and create space for different perspectives, even if those perspectives challenge the majority.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between collaboration and critical thinking, making sure the collective consciousness doesn't just become an echo chamber of agreement.
Exactly. The most effective organizations balance individual brilliance and collective intelligence. They encourage both collaboration and constructive dissent.
Okay, so we've looked at how collective consciousness works on a societal level, through historical movements and revolutions, and on a corporate level, shaping company culture. But what about us as individuals? How can we understand and navigate this force in our own lives?
That's where things get really interesting. It's not just about observing its effects in the world. It's about recognizing how it shapes our own thoughts, beliefs, and actions. It's about being aware of the social and cultural influences that affect our perceptions and choices.
So becoming more aware of how we're influenced by the collective instead of just going with the flow.
Exactly. And this awareness allows us to make more conscious choices, to question assumptions, challenge biases, and develop a more critical and discerning perspective.
Sounds like understanding collective consciousness is key for personal growth and for becoming more effective agents of change.
Definitely. We're not isolated individuals, we're interconnected nodes in a huge web of consciousness. Our thoughts, actions, and choices all contribute to this collective tapestry.
That's a powerful thought. So, what are some practical things we can do to become more aware of and navigate collective consciousness?
One important step is to develop critical thinking skills. Question the information you encounter, especially with all the information overload and manipulation we see today. Seek out different viewpoints. Challenge your own biases. Be open to thoughtful conversations with people who see things differently.
It's about remembering that our own viewpoint is just one small part of a much bigger picture.
Right. Another step is to practice mindful reflection. Take some time to step back from the constant stream of information and social interactions. Observe your own thoughts and feelings. Notice how you're influenced by the collective, both consciously and unconsciously.
It seems like mindfulness could help us be more in control within this collective consciousness.
Exactly. And lastly, remember, we're not just passive recipients. We actively create collective consciousness. Our choices, actions, and words all contribute to shaping our shared reality.
So, by being more aware of our thoughts and actions,
Yeah.
we can contribute to a more positive and constructive collective consciousness.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we're all connected and embracing our role in shaping a more just, compassionate, and sustainable future.
This deep dive into collective consciousness has been truly insightful. It's such a powerful concept, with huge implications for us as individuals, for society as a whole, and even for the future of our planet.
If you're interested in learning more, I highly recommend checking out MindSharing, Harnessing the Power of Group Thinking for Personal Growth. You can find it on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. Until next time, stay curious and keep those minds open.